Well, that's
And
stupid.
trying to get, yeah.
Horrible theology.
That to your brother who's 16 when you're 14. Where's your father? I want to box his ears.
You've got to impact the situation. You don't stand around and wait on God to fix something. He's going to tell you, you get your butt in gear and he'll join you.
A young guy who just got his first job in freaking Los Angeles, making $75,000 a year.
A farmer is standing in the middle of a dirt field going, God put us here. If he wants this corn to be planted, I guess he'll plant some corn.
Number 5, child in debt. This young caller named Davis is calling up Ramsey because he is $21,400 in debt, and he is confused about what to do.
He should probably be penalized more than $1,500 for being a doofus as a dad.
All right, so I have $21,140 in debt and still maintain a healthy relationship with him. Because
You owe your brother the $15,000?
I do. Just under $15,000 in the bank. I have a vintage car worth $4,500.
How old are you?
I'm 14.
14?
And I can sell personal assets up to $2,000.
Dude, do you know how weird this sounds?
I know, it sounds crazy, but...
He explains his finances and his business, which he had to shut down, and is looking for some genuine advice. He's struggling to pay back the debt, and he actually owes most of the amount to his brother and some to his dad. But the real shocker comes when Davis tells Ramsey his age. He's only 14 years old.
I had a high-end engine business that I was running that I had to shut down.
That to your brother who's 16 when you're 14. Where's your father? I want to box his ears.
Due to the fact that I had been scammed once and then lied to right after that. $1,500 to my dad and the rest to my brother.
Okay, and you have $15,000 cash in the bank.
Right, via debt with my brother, which, looking back on it, was a very poor decision.
He stood there and allowed it to go on. I don't have 14-year-olds doing $21,000 transactions.
How crazy is this? And the brother he owes money to is only 16. Ramsey tells him that his dad should have been the one that should have been controlling this situation, and the fact that the kids were able to trade so much without any adult supervision is almost unbelievable. Ramsey tells him that he needs to pay back his brother with the $15K in his bank account and sell his vintage car to pay off the debt to his brother, so at least he doesn't have that pressure on his back. Ramsey gives all parents out there some advice. Don't let your kids fall this far into debt into the spirit of being an entrepreneur, because while it is impressive that this teen was able to make so much at a young age, he's just under too much pressure now, which is simply not fair to a child.
I'm struggling to pay back this debt. As you can tell, I'm kind of young. I've always done entrepreneurial things.
Those of you wanting to teach your teens, and for that matter, preteens, how to handle money, Smart Money, Smart Kids is how we raised ours.
How do you think that I should either try and settle this or, settle some of it off while paying some of it with my brother?
Okay.
Right.
Take the $15,000 out of the bank and pay your father the $1,500, I guess, that Rachel Cruz and I wrote together that we raised our kids with. And we allowed them to experience the pain of their stupidness. Pay him the $1,500 and pay the rest to your brother, sell your vintage car, and I think your brother's paid off then, right?
Number 4, deadly medical school debt. This caller is about to shock everyone listening. He's a medical student and he is $430,000 in debt, out of which $415,000 is medical loans. This is beyond shocking. It is honestly scary. When faced with a large medical student loan debt, there can be pressure to prioritize higher-paying jobs to meet the financial obligations. This can limit a person's career choices and prevent them from pursuing their true passion or exploring opportunities that may be personally fulfilling but financially modest. The burden of debt can influence decision-making and potentially hinder professional and personal growth, and it kinda sounds like this young man is thinking of going on that path. Ramsey is quick to set him straight. Ramsey gives him some decent pointers and advice on how to proceed in this situation, because it is pretty bad at this point, and this young man really needs to buckle down and get serious as soon as he can. He has some decent ideas on how to get out and raise the money he needs. Ramsey says he has. Good plan, but tells him to be cautious with his business dealings, because people often get in trouble because they believe in the best case scenarios and don't think of how things can go wrong. Number 3, family drowning in debt. A 25-year-old man calls up Ramsey and straight up tells him that his family is $130,000 in debt. He has a wife and 4 kids, and he just can't seem to get his finances in order. Ramsey takes on a strong tone and tells him that he needs to become active and put the work in to change his situation, or it will keep getting worse.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Horrible theology.
About $130,000 in debt, and then another $178 on a mortgage.
The wind, and God sends the nutrition in the dirt, but you have to put the corn in the ground. You got to put the work in.
Like, God put us here, and he could take us away tomorrow, so what's the point of trying to get debt-free?
His wife doesn't work because she stays at home and watches the kids. He himself makes about $72,000 a year before taxes, which is really not enough to pay off this debt quickly. Ramsey asks him about his car, and after finding out he has multiple, he tells them to sell them. Ramsey gives him admission to the Financial Peace University for free and tells him he needs to sort this mess out, otherwise it will affect his family, especially his kids.
You've got to impact the situation. You don't stand around and wait on God to fix something. He's going to tell you, you get your butt in gear and he'll join you. God says for you to sell your cars.
I agree.
You know how I know that? It's in the Bible. A farmer is standing in the middle of a dirt field going, God put us here. If he wants this corn to be planted, I guess he'll plant some corn.
Number 2, couple's $1 million debt. A newly married lady decides to call Ramsey because she and her husband have decided that they really need to start getting serious about their finances, because they have about $1 million in debt. This is far too much, especially considering that she's only 29 years old and $800,000 of that money is in non-mortgage debt, while around $300,000 is just by credit cards. Even Ramsey is shocked. After all, high levels of debt hinder your ability to achieve important life goals. Whether it's saving for a down payment on a house, pursuing further education, or starting a business, excessive debt can hold you back from pursuing your dreams. It limits your financial flexibility and makes it harder to make choices that align with your long-term aspirations. Some of this couple's debt is student loans, which is understandable, but the rest is quite insane. They're making some really bad financial decisions, and they need the help of a professional to get their life back on track. Their combined household income is about $230,000, which is really not enough to pay off the $1 million they have accumulated in debt. The worst thing is that since accumulating too much debt negatively affects your credit score, it has implications for future borrowing. A poor credit history can make it harder to secure loans, get favorable interest rates, or even rent an apartment. It limits your financial options and can take years to repair, if ever repaired at all. This couple might just destroy their life. Ramsey tells her to buckle down and cut down on their expenses drastically for the next 3 years, because their lifestyle is far more extravagant than what they can afford. Number 1, 22-year-old drowning in debt.
You don't have time to go out on a date. You don't have time to do anything. You're just getting out of debt. That's all you're doing.
I took out $126,000 in loans. At this moment, I owe $140 because of interest and stuff like that.
A young guy who just got his first job in freaking Los Angeles, making $75,000 a year.
And if I pay for 12 years at a steady rate, I will pay over $200,000 with interest and stuff like that.
And then keep living like a college student, because you have never made $75,000 in your life.
My starting salary is $75,000, and I'm looking at the payments that I owe, especially for my new car.
You probably had never made $7,500 in your life.
Starting to stress out, and I was wondering if you knew how I could basically take my first step into financial adulthood.
This 22-year-old just graduated college, and he had taken out $125,000 in loans, and he owes about $145,000 due to interest now. But the job he just got pays about $75,000, and by his calculation, his debt is going to be overwhelming in the next few years unless he figures out a financial plan right now.
Nope.
Okay, so you've been living on nothing. Well, sort of. You've been living on student loans, but...
I'm an aerospace engineer.
Okay.
That's my major.
So you're good at math, and that makes this overwhelming, doesn't it? So I want you to live on beans and rice and beans, a scorched earth deal.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So what part of this formula made buying a car a good idea? If the car's gone and we got a $5,000 car, which you've got to do, that was insanity.
Because it's not Chicago and it's not New York, it's LA. So no matter what, I will have to drive to my work.
And then we said, all right, out of $75,000, we're going to live on nothing.
I got a Kia Niro.
Brand new.
It is brand new, yes.
Yeah.
He calls Ramsey in hopes to get some insight on how to control this situation, and Ramsey decides to serve him up a plate of cold hard truth, because that's what this young man needs right now, or he will end up destroying his life just to pay off a debt that will never end. Ramsey tells him to control his expenses and live a very sparse lifestyle, save every little bit he can, and sell his car and get a cheaper one because he's driving a pretty expensive one right now, which was not a good decision in hindsight. By Ramsey's calculation, if he can save up a decent amount, most of his income, he can manage to pay off his entire debt in 4 years, which is actually not too bad. Ramsey advises him to get another job if he can, because that will put a real dent in the problem.
So we're gonna put 30,000 on the debt. Cannot imagine a world in which I would accept 12 years of servitude as my future. If you put 40,000 on the debt, which is really extreme, okay?
Yeah.
That sounds excruciating to me. That means you're probably working an extra job in addition to the new job you've got, but you can work. Best results we've had getting people out of debt is a rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy. The good thing about working all the time is you don't have time to spend money. And so you don't have time to go to the club. That's the future you. But between here and there is hell. And if you do that, put $40,000 a year on this, you're done in 3 years, my man.
Large student loan debt like this will become a significant financial burden that lasts for years or even decades after graduation, and that's exactly what this young man is facing now. It will impact his ability to achieve other financial goals, such as buying a home, starting a business, or saving for retirement. The weight of monthly loan repayments will limit his financial flexibility and hinder your overall financial well-being. Not to mention the weight of significant student loan debt will cause stress, anxiety, and even affect his mental health. Constantly worrying about loan repayment, financial stability, and the future will take a toll on this young man's overall well-being. Luckily, Ramsey has given him a way out, and if he puts in the effort, he should be good to go in 3 to 4 years. That's all for today, folks. We'll see you next time.